Hello there everyone, welcome to my humble abode. Today we will be reading two stories written by As the Raven Dreams. I hope you enjoy, and hey, if you enjoy this kind of content, check me out at the links below, maybe join my Discord server to be notified of the next video. Anyhow, let's get started. How I Met Brian Sampson. Sampson was known for stealing other people's wives. Emphasis on was, you see, Brian Sampson was my neighbor, and he has a reputation around town. He'd been caught in bed with more married women than you could ever think to count. Odds are he just received as many beatings because of it. The thing about Brian Sampson is that he was kind of a jackass. There's the obvious. He was destroying marriages, but he was also the kind of guy to park on the road in front of driveways after driving home drunk at 2 a.m. Plays music too loudly, rev his piece of crap car's motor randomly, just to be a nuisance. Honestly, he was 100 times worse than any words can paint. He was truly the scum of the earth. Now, one could say that the women Brian slept with were just as fault as he was. But Brian was something special. He was truly irresistible to those he wanted, and damn near invincible to those that beat the hell out of him on the regular. That all said, let's move on to how he and I met. One day last October, I came home from work early and I found my wife in bed with Brian. This had absolutely killed me inside. She was my world, and she had betrayed me. We talked about it, and she told me about how he got into her head and manipulated her into doing what she did. Honestly, I believed her. Very convincing. I took some time to get to know Brian, really get to know him. Looked into who he was, and put together a pretty good profile for him, and studied his mannerisms. He and I even went in together on a business venture. We decided we would purchase a refrigeration warehouse and start a cold storage business. Well, that's what I let him believe. I let him talk to the bankers and sellers, and watched as his charisma worked on them to lower the price and close the deal. Then came the day that we went and looked around the place alone, and the day I hatched my plan. We were looking at a walk-in freezer together. I shut the door behind us. After a few moments, I pulled a small handgun on Brian and shot him in his leg. He fell onto the ground and screamed in pain. I just laughed and walked back towards the door. He screamed and asked what I was doing, and I told him I was leaving. "You can't leave me here. I'll freeze to death," he shouted. "Oh, don't be an idiot, Brian," I retorted, as I walked out and stared at him. "Vampires cannot freeze to death." I smiled as I shut and locked the door. 2 foot of steel in the middle of nowhere. locking that jackass away for the rest of eternity. That was quite the story. Thank you, As the Raven Dreams, for letting me read that. Now, the next story is called Memories. What was the adage? Never work with children or animals. He hovered over me and chuckled. Au contraire, my friend. Working with children, that's the best results, but animals are easier to get nowadays. His face twisted into a malicious grin. Then there are people like you that make my life even easier. Not only are you in plentiful supply, the world doesn't question the ethics of what I'm doing. What exactly are you doing? A suit in the corner with his arms crossed was clearly not amused with this whole scenario. The intent of this experiment is to remove the subject's memories so only the most painful exist. The doctor continued hovering over me. This subject is in prison for murdering his own daughter. Quite a sickening act, even for the worst individual. I didn't murder her. I mumbled my words in a low tone. That's what you kept saying, yet here we are. The doctor grinned again. Regardless of our friend's lies, you'll be witnessing the next step in criminal rehabilitation. Currently, we throw these evil individuals in a 10 by 10 cell and call it a day. In the near future, and today, we will instead implant in tremendous mental and emotional pain into the subject for a short amount of time in order to show them the error of their actions. And how does this fix the prisoner? Another suit asked this question. It's not dissimilar to pain compliance that is used when arresting a subject. The doctor looked up at them. Except by triggering this emotional pain, we can almost rewire the evil out of their brain, and not do so within hours or days, not decades. Please don't, I begged in a whispered tone. I'm sorry, sir, you were chosen to be the first subject. The doctor smirked down at me. And the first subject you shall be. He connected a device over my scalp and plugged various wires into each other. Now, there will be a slight sting. Once the connection is made, you won't feel anything and your vision will go dark. This is completely normal and you shouldn't worry about it. Within a moment or two, the machine will get to work, digging into your memories and deciding via a very complex algorithm which one will do the trick. Then that memory will play in your head on repeat until the rehabilitation is complete. As he finished the explanation, I could feel a slight pain in my head. And how do we know when it's finished? One of the men in the room asked the doctor. The machine will decide. He reached over and grabbed the man's jacket. Until then, it's lunch, gentlemen. I could faintly hear their feet shuffling as the room faded to black. Within seconds, I was back home, standing outside my front door. I could feel my heart racing as I reached out and opened the door to find my daughter lying dead at the floor. Quite a bone-chilling story, wouldn't you agree? Thank you for taking part and listening in this video. Please like and subscribe, and be sure to check out my other videos. It helps a lot. Now, without further ado, I bid you adieu. Hasta la pasta.